Devin the Retro Gamer, and we're at another review. This time, we're going to review Crash Bandicoot racing games. So, we're going to start with Crash Team Racing, then we're going to do Crash Nitro Kart, and then after Crash Nitro Kart, we're going to finish it off with Tag Team Racing. I thought it would be a perfect time to do it since it's right before the release of the, nitro-fueled game. So, without further ado, let's get on with the review. So, my opinion on Crash Team Racing is, it's got a lot of good features to it, but before we do any of that, let's talk about the story. So the story of Crash Team Racing is basically, it starts with this crazy green alien called Nitrous Oxide or something, and he's like, I'm gonna challenge you guys to a race, and race for the fate of your world, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, so that gets a lot of the Crash characters to say, hey, alright, I want to race this guy, I want to beat him, I want to tell him what for. So, when you start the game, you'll get the choice between various characters like Crash and Cortex and Coco and, just other various Crash characters that you would like. So in the game, it's an average racing game. They got multiplayer, they have story mode, they have all the big features. In story mode, they kind of have something similar to the N64 game Diddy Kong Racing, where you have a little hub world and a bunch of tracks you can go in. So basically, it's almost similar to the Warp Room in the earlier Crash games, where you would go to a series of levels, you'd beat them and get the thing you need. In this game's case would be the trophies, for getting first place. And then you would fight the boss. In this game's case, it would be you're racing the boss. Which I thought was a pretty nice feature. I like the whole idea of that. Now, there are about, I'd say, 4 or 5 bosses in there. You got Ripperoo, Papu Papu, Komodo Joe, Pinstripe, and then once you beat all of them, then that's when you fight the Oxide guy. And a lot of characters actually have their own themed stages. That's most of the stages in this game. Like there's Rouge Tubes, or Crash Cove, or Coco Park. And I think a lot of them are really good. Some of them are really hard to deal with, like certain tracks in the Cortex level have, Cortex Castle, they have sharp turns. Pretty difficult to deal with. That's about it, like, when talking about the Crash story. There's not really much else to say about it. But I guess, this would be a good time to talk about the multiplayer while I can. So the multiplayer is pretty good. You could race with up to 4 racers, 4 friends, and, it's a lot of fun. I've never really played it with 4 people because I've never had 4 people. But I've enjoyed playing multiplayer with people locally, whether it be family or friends that came over. They also have battle arenas where you could face off in big arenas. And those are pretty fun too. I like the whole thing there. There's not really much else aside from that. And that's really just the basic gist of Crash Team Racing. I'm not even going to lie. I was surprised that I was actually able to compile all that. I'll tell you guys my opinion on this game once the review's over with the other 2. So you guys will hear my score at the very end. But yeah, overall, I think Crash Team Racing is a very good game. It did a lot of good for the genre. And it really gave Mario Kart a run for its money, which I gotta give it cred for that. That's pretty nice. Now, of course, the next game we're going to be reviewing is Crash Nitro Kart. And with Crash Nitro Kart, the big thing about that is Crash Nitro Kart was made after Naughty Dog quit Crash. So, it's a bit different. It's got new devs. It was made by the people that actually made the original Crash remakes. Or sorry, the people that made the Crash remakes, so it's not too bad, but let's get on to the review. So, this game has more of a realistic, not even realistic story, but it's got more of a story to it. So basically, the game starts off with Crash and the gang basically just relaxing, working on their vehicles, and then they get sucked into this portal, and they have to fight in this, well, not fight, but they have to race in this big challenge thing. And same goes for Cortex and his minions. Him, Engine, and Tiny, and Crash, Crunch, and Coco all have their own campaigns you could race in. So, basically, instead of it being the individual racer you're racing as, in this game, it's by teams. So, you have Team Crash, and then you have Team Cortex. Each character has like their own little thing. Like Crash is the middleman, like, he's not too fast, not too slow. Coco, she's pretty fast, but she doesn't have very good turning. Crunch, on the other hand, has really good turning, but he can't go very fast. He's pretty slow compared to the other two racers. Same goes for Cortex's team. Cortex is the middleman. He has a little bit of both. Engine is the fast one, but he has pretty bad turning. And Tiny, just like Crunch, has really good turning, but just does not, go that fast. And there's not really much else to the campaign. Funny enough, a lot of the tracks in this game kind of came straight out of Crash Team Racing. Some of them, really. Like, Inferno Island, for example, that's basically just Crash Code with PS2 graphics, and maybe a bit of a different layout. And certain other stages seem to have ripped off well-known stages from the game. Not that it completely puts it down, but it kind of takes out the originality. Like this stage that you see in the gameplay, for example, this is basically just Roost Tubes, Like, it's straight from Roost Tubes, so there's not really anything specially added to it. And the story, you fight, various different racers. They're not well-known Crash villains like in Team Racing, Just a bunch of random aliens and stuff that you probably would have never heard of up until this game. That's about it for the story, though. I think we can get on to the multiplayer. Multiplayer's about the same. You got your racing multiplayer up to 4 people, just like Crash Team Racing. And then you got your battle arenas, just like Crash Team Racing. But there is one pretty cool feature that they added that I will give it props for. They added a stage builder where you could actually make your own battle arena, which I thought was pretty cool. Also, another thing to note is, for a game that came out 4 years later on a completely different console, they didn't really add too much. Like, they had 2 or 3 more characters than were in Crash Team Racing, and they even lost a bit. Like, there's, 2 or 3 less tracks in this game than there were in Crash Team Racing. Which, you would think they would at least add a couple more tracks, but they don't even have as much, Which, what can you do? But I just thought I'd mention that. That's about it for my review of that game. Now we're going to move on to the third game we got to review. Now, the next game we're going to review came out a little bit later. Actually came out after Twinsanity, about a year. And this is one that's pretty mixed. A lot of people like it, a lot of people hate it. But it's really good in its own way, I think. But I'll explain more in the review. So hold up. So basically, it's got a lot of the Twinsanity style too, that's the thing. Now, this game's a bit different from your average Crash Team Racing game. Now, when you see this, you're going to be like, whoa, dude, this is not a racing game. What the frick is this? Well, I'll tell you, this is a hybrid game. So, this game is both a platformer and a racing game mixed together. So basically, the game starts off with Crash, Coco, and Crunch going against Cortex, Crunch, and Nina. They're shooting at each other on a racetrack, trying to beat each other. And then they crash into each other and they end up in this theme park called Von Clutch's Motor World. They catch up with Von Clutch, and Von Clutch needs their help. And of course, being the good guy himself, Crash, of course, is like, yeah, let's go. But in, Cortex and them aren't really interested. But they have plans to take over the park, so they say, yeah, let's do it. So basically, throughout the game, you explore these various different theme parks within the big theme park, which are little areas. All of them have pretty unique themes. Like, you have the pirate level, with 3 different pirate racetracks and a battle arena. You have the Happily Ever Faster place, which is basically like a fairy tale level with 3 tracks and another thing. And then you have the Tyrannosaurus Rex. Not Rex. Rex. Because you get it, it's a card pun. But yeah, that has, same thing. I don't think I need to say it. And then the 4th track is a pyramid theme level. I can't recall the name right now. I know, it's very professional for a review. And then the last track, Astroland, which is a space-themed level and futuristic. Now, throughout the game and throughout all the parks, you'll find various little mini-games you could do. Like, there's mini-games like shooting chicken, there's bowling mini-games, which, those are pretty bad. Some of them are bad. But a lot of them are okay. Like, I like the shooting ones, I don't mind them. Also, another thing to note is throughout the game, you unlock more cars and you unlock more costumes, so you get, like, more features than you would get in Nitro Kart and Team Racing. And I would give it props for that. I think that's pretty good. And we also got to mention the elephant in the room, like the big major thing this game added, which is morphing cars. It's pretty cool at first, like the first couple of times you do it, and it's really unique. I like it. Because like you can either be the driver or you can be the gunner. And it's pretty fun in multiplayer because, you know, you can morph with your friends and take out other friends. So, you know, definitely a unique feature. Now, sometimes it could seem gimmicky, and I'm not going to lie, it sometimes is pretty gimmicky. But it's a pretty cool feature, being able to, you know, use these weapons and stuff. Now, I just want to let you guys know, near the end, there's going to be a little bit of a spoiler alert in the story. So basically, by the end of the story, it's revealed that Crash did it. But not really. It's actually the Wampa guy who is revealed to have done it. And you have to chase him to the Astroland level to stop him. And once you do defeat him, Cortex and the gang come out and they're like, we're evil again, and then they get destroyed quickly. It was a nice little story. Not really much added to it. Actually, I think that's about it. There's not really much else I can mention about the game. I thought it was a pretty good game, and I think now at this point, I might as well just say my final opinions on it. Now, while I get everything set up, I guess I'll talk about a little more of the game. Good game, interesting, and definitely something I enjoyed playing.
That's it for the review, guys. Thank you all for watching. It's my longest review ever, so hopefully maybe in the future we'll do longer reviews. Yeah, that's going to be about it. I guess my final score for everything would be a pretty good score. I give Crash Team Racing 9 out of 10. It's a very good racing game. It's got a lot of cool features and a lot of nice tracks. Not much of a character selection, but for the time it was pretty good compared to, you know, something like Mario Kart. And the drifting, I really like that, so I gave it a high score just because of that. Nitro Kart, though, it felt a lot more stiffer, and it didn't add terribly great stuff, so I would probably give that a 7. Because, leaning on a 6 even, it's not as good as Team Racing, and it had a lot of flaws. Tag Team Racing, I give it an 8. I think it had a lot of good stuff. I really liked the racing. The mini-games were pretty neat. The platforming, you know, as much as people complain about it, I actually thought it was really good. But it does have its issues, like, because the platforming can sometimes be a bit stiff. Sometimes when, like, you morph into the cars, it's got its issues, so that's my final score for everything. I hope you guys enjoyed this review of 3 games, and I'm out. Peace.